my mouth was hoofed like a living monkey. I literally looked like a monkey. What's up, Kingdom Kings and Queens? Welcome back to your girl's channel. If you're new here and you want to access your keys to the kingdom, you already know what to do. Go right ahead, hit that subscribe button, turn the post notification bell so you don't miss an upload when we do. Okay, so guys, if you are new, my name is Monique. Welcome to the fam. So we upload on Mondays and Fridays. On Monday we do lifestyle, reset vlogs, and all that stuff, living a life through the word. Okay, and on Friday we upload biblical content, prophetic word, prophetic dreams, testimonies, and all that stuff, hallowing the name of the Lord. So if that is something that you are interested in, you're looking for a content creator to help you grow in God, your girl right here. Okay, so without any further ado, guys, let's jump right into today's video. Okay guys, so today's video is a testimony video of when I was being turned into a monkey through witchcraft. Okay, and how it played a part in me getting saved and staying saved. Okay, so let's get into it. So this was around the time when I was still in high school and I was about to do some CXCs. Okay, so it was around CXC time, getting close to when you would be sent on study leave, where you would go and get prepared for your exams, right? So during this time, I was going to school, doing my thing and all that. Mind you, while I was going to high school, I've always been a good grade kind of person. I'm always in the 90s. The lowest I would drop is a 85 or so on. I'm always ranking high, okay, because I'm just a competitor. If someone is above me by a few points, the next time I'm coming right for that person. Okay, so that's the kind of person I am and was in high school. Okay, so for whatever the reason is, people always think that I am too much, or I don't talk to people, or my face always looks serious. Okay, however, I'm always one that would get my schoolwork done, come home, stay home, study. I'm one that used to study the dictionary. Okay, so that's the kind of person I was growing up, going to high school. So people would see me as acting like I'm brighter than other persons. Okay, and I wouldn't say boast, but I would always talk about the fact that I wanted to be an architect. So I would, talk to my cousins and say, listen, I want to be an architect, and this, and you have to do physics, and I would go on and on and on. Ever since I was small, I was able to draw house plans. I was able to draw. I could look at someone and draw them. So, I had talent. I still have talent. But yeah, that's the kind of person I was, and I always try to encourage people and say, this is what you should do and this is what I'm gonna do. So, people might take it as me boasting, but it was just me expressing myself and where I wanted to go. Okay, cool. So I was going through high school, doing my thing, living a regular teenage life as anyone else. But I remember, as soon as it gets close to going to do CXCs after I was recommended, and again, I always speak about my achievements. So I was going yapping about saying, oh, I got recommended for 8 CXCs, and I was just going. And I'd already done 2 CXCs in grade 10. Okay, so I was yapping about going and saying. So apparently I was not supposed to speak on it because I was seen as boastful. I didn't know. So going on, time goes by and all of that. I remember it was in April, March, the ending of March going into April, when, you know, people were doing their SBAs and stuff. I was getting my SBAs done and all of that stuff, and getting ready to go off on study break, right? Lo and behold, I was home one evening and I went to bed normally. That night, my mother had cooked baked bean and saltfish and boiled dumpling and yam and bananas and stuff. I love baked bean, by the way. I love baked bean. So my mother cooked that and we ate and all of that stuff and went to bed like normal. I woke up the morning and my mouth was swollen. My mouth was swollen. And I was like, why is my mouth swollen? I was so confused. I was like, maybe I got food poisoning. Maybe it was from what I ate last night, you know, so no big deal. I was laughing at myself. I was like, telling my sister and my mom, oh, I look like a chimpanzee. So I was laughing about it because I thought that I had only ate something and I was having a reaction towards it. And I was even mentioning to them about the movie with Will Smith when he was allergic and he swole up. So I was like, maybe I'm just allergic to something. But the thing is, I've always been eating the same thing. So, you know, it didn't register. I was just saying I was allergic. Anyway, as the day go by, I went to the local clinic and I got a penicillin injection, right? When I got the penicillin injection, it brought down the swelling. The swelling went down. And so, yeah, I was like, see, it's something that I ate and all that stuff. Like, you don't have to worry about it. It's something that I ate. You know, I was going about doing school. I was living in St. Thomas, but I went to school in Kingston. I went to Excelsior. But I was living in country because I'm a country girl. But I was going to Kingston. So, okay. So me there thinking that it's something that I ate, and the day went by and I went to sleep again the next day, and I woke up and it was even bigger than it was the day before. So now I'm low-key scared. I'm scared now. I'm crying and I'm like, I woke up and I got out the bed and I felt my mouth and I screamed and my mom rushed to me and said, what happened? And I'm like, look, my mouth. And she said, Jesus Christ. she's like, Jesus Christ. You know, oh, Jamaican people are dramatic. She's like, Jesus Christ, a woman, you know. And she started to cry. So I was there and I was like, oh my God, this is really real now. Like, reality started to hit. I'm like, what is this? What is happening to me? You know? And while my face was looking like that, I remembered I went back to the clinic. And the doctor gave me another penicillin. So, because I thought it was something. And I was like, what happened? So they ran some tests and stuff. And I got a penicillin and all that stuff. When the results came back, negative. Everything was fine. Nothing abnormal was found. So I was a little curious. I was like, what's happening to me? You know? And I have to go to school because if anyone knows me, I do not miss school. Could be rain, sun, hail, whatever it is outside, I am going. Unless I'm sick, I am going to school. But the weird thing about this, after days went by, I literally started looking like a chimpanzee. This picture right here, look at it. Take a good look at it. This picture right here of this chimpanzee, this is exactly how I looked. My natural, I wasn't bleaching or anything. I wasn't toning or anything. When you look outside of my face, the circumference of my face was extremely dark. And the inside, around my eyebrows to around this area, was completely white. It was of a light complexion, just as the way this chimpanzee looked. That's how I looked, and my mouth was hoofed like a living monkey. I literally looked like a monkey. And I tell you that each time I would look in the mirror, I would cry, but I wouldn't allow my mom to see me cry because I didn't want her to cry. Okay? So I didn't go to school for about 2 weeks. there's a mango tree in the front of my yard, right? So, and there's a stump underneath there, a log where we sat on. So I went out there. I used to go out there at morning time when I wake up. I would go up there and I would sit on the log and I would have my hand on my face and I would rock. And mind you, while this is going on, every single day, I started to get weaker and weaker. I started to get weaker and weaker. I couldn't eat. I didn't really want anything to eat. I was extremely tired. I started, like, things in my head started to get jumbled. Like, it was just crazy. So I remember 2 weeks passed and I was sitting outside and I sat on the log, and while I was there, I heard a voice said to me, ask me how, I don't know. Mind you, at this time, I'm not saved or anything. I used to go to Sunday school. I used to read from my great-grandmother, but that was it. I didn't know God. I didn't know Jesus. So I sat there, and while I was sitting on the log, for some strange reason, the sun got so hot. But I was just sitting there in the hot sun. And it's like I couldn't feel it that much that it was hot, but it was hot. And I was sitting there and I heard a voice said to me, are you going to sit here and die? Or are you going to get up and go tell your grandmother what's happening to you? And I'm like, wait a minute. Did I hear right? And the voice said the same thing again. And so I got up off the log and I walked towards the gate. And I got to my great grandmother's gate, and I opened the gate and I heard her scream out, "I where the whole I wanna go? I wanna go. I wanna come in my yard." And I was about to turn back, and she said, "Come, Mon, come. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to all those people that are following you." Mind you, at this point, I'm like, wait, who? I'm like, wait, what is she saying? But it is said, in Jamaica, it was said that the mint leaf, the mint tree, anytime there is spirits around, evil spirits around, you can smell the mint very strongly. And as soon as I got to the gate, the gate of my great-grandmother's yard, I started to smell the mint so strongly. The mint started to rise. The closer I get, the more you could smell the thing. Literally. The more you could smell the thing. And when I got there, she said to me, "Oh my God. What happened to you?" You know, she's like, "What happened to you? Oh my God." And she was there and she hold me and she felt, because she can't see, she's blind, she has been blind, but she can't see, so she hold me and she started to feel me and she said, "My God." And she felt my collarbones and everything, and they were sunken in, and she put her hands on my face, and my eye thing was sunken into, and she's like, "Oh my God, girl." And she held my head and she prayed, right? And she was like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" Anyway, that was that day. I went back home and I sat there on the same log the next day. I sat on the same log the next day. And the cycle just keep going over and over again. Right? So the next week come and I'm like, you know what? I have to go to school because I have SBAs to finish. And so I went to school and I had a big old towel over my head. And when I got to school that morning, no, this is week 3. I got to school that morning. There was a howl at the school gate. But there was a weird thing about this owl. This owl had a head of a man. Like it was a owl, but I could see the head of a man on this thing. And I was like, wondering if I'm delusional or something. I was looking at this owl and I'm like, what in the world is this? And it's right at the gate. It's right at the gate, and I see people walk. I'm always early, by the way. And I see kids walking in, but for some reason, I couldn't walk in. And I'm like stopping people and asking them, "Do you see that owl at the gate?" And they're like, no. But a young lady was passing, and I said to her, morning, what is at the gate? And she said that she see a owl with a man head. So I know I wasn't crazy, and I was like, oh my God, you know what? I'm going in with this girl. I'm gonna go in regardless. And I went in. When I went in, we had an exam to do. When I got in the room where the exam was, when I got in the room where the exam was, I had to call the invigilator, and I said to the invigilator that, listen, I am going to fall asleep. I don't ask me how I know. I don't know. Because at this point, remember, I'm not saved, so I don't know anything about spiritual stuff. So I called the invigilator, and I said to him that, listen, I'm going to fall asleep more than 5 times while I'm in this exam. Each time you see me fall asleep, come and wake me up, please. And he was looking at me crazy like, okay. Anyway, while I spoke to the invigilator and I was sitting there waiting for them to, tell us that it is time to start the test, the same owl flew in the classroom, the big auditorium, flew in there, circle, and come stop right at my foot. Right at my foot. The thing fell right at my foot. And the invigilator was looking at me like, what just happened? And I screamed. I was like, ah! In Jamaica, they don't say owl, they say rat bat. I'm like, rat bat. And he came, and the thing get up and flew out. And I kid you not, as soon as the thing flew out and the exam started, 2 minutes in, I fell asleep. And the guy had to wake me up. And after the exam was finished, I asked him how many times I fell asleep. And he told me. I was like, oh my God. And he was looking at me like, how did you know? Like, how did you know that this is going to happen? And, how? And I was there, and I was like, how did this thing happen? So I started to backtrack, and I remember a few weeks ago, before all of this started to happen, I couldn't find one of my books. I looked everywhere for that book. I couldn't find the book. And I remember that during that time when I got sick, the book popped up, and I just took it up and put it in my bag with all the other books. I didn't think nothing of it, obviously. And I remember that I had gotten this little, I don't know if y'all remember the little tops, the little cover up thingies, the little cover up things that you put over spaghetti straps and stuff, tank tops. I had one of those, brand new, white, and someone was asking, do you have that? And I said, yes, I have one, could give. It was new and everything, never worn or anything. It was in my clothes though, but it was never worn. Tag and everything was on it when I gave it to the person, right? So I gave it to the person, and the person wore it, I guess, and the person brought it back. And I said, no, you could keep it. It was new. You could keep it. And they went away with it, right? They went away with it. And I remember going to school again the next day, and the person came back with the shirt. Came back with it, and my sister was home at the time, my big sister, and she took it. She took it and she had it there amongst my stuff, right? And when I got home, she said, that this was brought back, and I put it there, and I'm like, okay, whatever, it's done, it's here already, so what can I do? But everything was already mixed in, so this is being shown, like it's being brought back to my remembrance now that I'm in this position where my face is swollen and I'm looking like a chimpanzee. I remember those 2 events that took place that led up to this. Right after those 2 things took place is when this sickness that I'm now faced with, that I'm talking about, occurred. So there was a connection, right? Cool. So I was there, and I remember that this pastor, we went to this pastor because they said that he was a deliverance pastor. he was a deliverance pastor, and he could pray for me and help me to, get back to normal. So we went to this pastor and he prayed. But I remember that morning when we were going to this pastor, it's like I was shown a dream. I had a dream where I saw a car, a white car. They called it deportee, a white deportee. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but a white deportee car. And I saw the license plate, and I saw this big fat lady. I saw this big old fat lady sitting on a hill with her head wrapped. Big old fat lady. And she was huffing and puffing, sitting there on the car, going up the hill. And it stopped on top of the hill, and she stood there. She came out and they interacted and everything. And I'm like, what is this? I'm like, what kind of dream this? And I told the dream to my mother. But we went on our way, went to the pastor. And when we got there, he said to me that you had a dream. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, I'm not here to send back anything. I hope you didn't come for me to send back anything to nobody, because I'm not a hobby man. I'm not a hobby man. And I'm like, no, we're not a hobby man. And so they say you're a pastor. You're a pastor. You do deliverance and stuff. And so he prayed for me, and I felt better when he prayed for me. He prayed for me, and I felt better, and he gave me olive oil or something. He gave me an oil, right? He gave me an oil, and I felt better when he prayed and stuff, and I went home. When I went home and I got back, I mind you, while this is happening and all that stuff, I didn't vomit or anything, nothing. I didn't vomit, I didn't throw up, I didn't nothing. He just prayed and gave me an oil and all of that. I don't know anything about this. Mind you, I'm not a Christian. My mother is not a Christian, but we have Christian relatives and stuff. So we went to this pastor. Now I remembered I was good. After he prayed, I was good, right? And he told me not to take anything from anyone, not to give my stuff out to anyone. But when I got home and stuff, after a while, after a week, I went right back to being sick. Felt sick again. I felt weird again. And I went back outside and I sat on the log, right? When I sat on the log, the same voice that I heard the first time came back to me, and he said, are you going to sit here and die? And I got up. When I tell you, I was so weak. My legs had no strength. My head was all jumbled. I felt so sick, like I was about to give up the ghost at any moment. I felt so sick. But while I was sitting there, I started to remember, even though my mind was jumbled, I started to remember the story about Gideon. I started to remember this story so strongly. So I said no. I looked up in the sky and I said, God, if you are hearing me, if you see my condition, please, I'm asking you to help me. And while I said that, I said, if there is a God now. Because when I said that, I was there, and I'm like, all right, just like Gideon, I'm going to prove if there is a God. If you are real, Lord, if you are real and you are hearing me and you see my condition that I am in at this moment, I'm going to ask you, just like Gideon, to show me a sign. Let it rain on me. And let the ground around me remain dry. And I kid you not, as soon as I opened my mouth and said that, just like Gideon, I said, just like the Bible story, when Gideon asked you for a sign, I'm asking you for a sign because I cannot die like this. And I kid you not. The clouds burst open in the sky and it rained on me. I was soaking wet. Hello? I was soaking wet. My mom ran out and said, "Oh, you're wet, what happened?" And I said, I was talking to God. And he allowed rain to fall on me, and she started to cry, saying that I'm loco. She started to cry. She cried and she went back into the house, like she's saying, "Oh, my daughter is going crazy now." So I was like, okay, that's the first part of the test, because listen, I read it in a scripture. I read it when I was reading for my grandmother. I read it, so I knew it was there. And so I walked towards the gate now, and I stood at the gate, and I said to the Lord again, just like Gideon, he said, "Don't be mad at him, but I'm gonna ask you for one more sign to make sure that you are the one that answered me just now. You are the one that responded just now." And let me tell you that as soon as I finished speaking, I said, "Lord, let the rain fall on the ground this time, just like what Gideon said to let it fall on the fleet." And I kid you not, immediately rain came down again, and it wet the ground around me. It wet the ground around me where I was standing, and it didn't fall on me this time. And my mom came out again as a witness, and she said, "What happened?" I said, "It was raining right here." And she said she saw it raining, and when she come out, it was only that portion. Okay, so that time my confidence was built, and I said, I know God hear me, and he will deliver me. He will deliver me. At the time now, one of my cousins, she was baptized, and she was going to church. So I decided to go with her. And my friend was there, and I met a minister at the church that my great grandmother goes to, was there, and I explained the situation and everything that happened to him. And he said, this was a Friday, because they were having youth gathering, that this was a Friday, and he said, "Come to church on Sunday." And so I said, okay. I was getting ready and everything, excited to go to church. On the Sunday morning when I was supposed to go to church, I started to feel like I didn't want to go, but I still pushed to go. And when I got there and service was going on, mind you, my mouth was still a little bit swollen. It wasn't all the way swollen as it was before. But while I was sitting in the church, while worship was going on, my mouth started to itch. But I didn't pay it any mind, because I know it was swollen. So I was like, maybe it's a little bit uncomfortable, so I didn't pay it any mind. Fast forward to when the preacher went on. When he went up and he started preaching his message. He started preaching, and for some reason when he was preaching, I know what it is, but when he was preaching at that time, I didn't know what was going on. He was preaching, and I felt so uncomfortable. I wanted to leave. And while he was there preaching and going on, my mouth swole up right back to what it was looking like before. A living monkey I looked like in that church all over again. And I was I got up crying, got up ready to run through the door. And he cut his message and said, "You come here." Ask me how I got to the altar. I don't know. I know nobody came for me, but ask me how I got to there. I don't know. When I got to the altar and he started to speak, I remember that my lip, there was a big old thing on the inside that was swollen and filled with mucus. And while he was there talking, it was itching, and it burst. It burst, right? After it burst, he was there talking, and he was speaking to whatever it is that was on me, or whoever it is that was on me, he was speaking to it, and he was blasting it, and I fell on the ground. This part now, I'm unaware. From the moment I got to the altar, I'm unaware. When the thing burst, I'm completely unaware. I don't know what happened after that fully. But what he explained to me afterwards, he said when he started to minister to me and what was in me, because I believe the thing was in me. What was in me, he started to pray, and he started to rebuke and cast out and cast down and all of that. I levitated off the floor. I got up off the floor about yay high. This is the floor, and I got up off the floor, floated off the floor like this. They said they have never seen anyone levitated in a deliverance before. While he was there praying and rebuking, I got up off the ground. Nobody lifted me. I got up off the ground while he was praying, levitated, and fell back on the ground. And I started throwing up while he was there praying and rebuking and calling names, and so I started throwing up. Mind you, this was after the testimony I shared about the gun sticking. This was after that time. Shortly after. It wasn't long. It was shortly after, because remember, in that previous vlog, in that previous video, I mentioned that, Lord, if you save me from this, I will serve you. But I didn't move immediately. And so this thing occurred afterwards. Not too long. Maybe a few months apart. It happened. And I was completely delivered. When he prayed and he touched me, when I got up and got back to my real self, the swelling was gone. The discoloration was gone. Everything that I was facing was gone. Completely gone. And I was in so much shock and awe. I was there crying, and I was thanking God. And I said, Lord, I am definitely going to surrender to you, because how much you love me to do this for me twice. He saved me twice. He rescued me twice. And someone worked witchcraft on me, turning me into a monkey. And he said, the only thing, you are very lucky, the only thing was left for you to do to die was your hands to go like this. You know how monkeys walk. Was your hands to do like this. I tell you, literally, I was being turned into a vegetable. I was being turned into a monkey. That was one of the scariest things I've ever been through. But I share this testimony to let somebody know that once there's a purpose on your life, once the Lord has mandated you, has predestinated you for a mission, for a task, for a mandate, placed a mantle upon your life, no devil in hell can kill you. No witch, no warlock can kill you. No matter what, they can't take you out before your time. They cannot take you out before your time. The witchcraft cannot kill you before your time. The car accident cannot kill you before the time. Whatever it is cannot kill you before your time. So as I look in this camera and I speak to someone that is going through a situation where it looks dark, where it looks as though you aren't gonna make it out. You can't make it out of this one. I stop by here to let you know that there is nothing that Yeshua cannot do. There is nothing that Jehovah Gibor cannot battle his way through for you. He is the forever reigning champion, and no devil in hell can stand up against him. He is forever victorious. So whatever your situation is, Whatever you're going through, just know, without a test, you can't have a testimony. The testimony of the Lord is sure, and it make it wise the simple. Your testimony, the thing that you have been through, is your storyline. The thing that you have overcome is for you to pass it on, so that somebody that is going through something similar, that might face something that you went through, can know that there is a God that sits high and looks low. There is a God that can deliver. So I share this testimony to help someone that it doesn't matter what storm clouds may rock your ship. It doesn't matter how much a witch rise up. It doesn't matter how much a warlock rise up. They can't kill you before your time. You have been through what you have been through because you have a mandate to go deliver some persons that are going to go through or is currently going through that thing that you went through. You can't help someone out of something that you have never faced. You can't help someone out of something that you have never experienced before. So go through your struggles, go through your trials. Your testimonies were made to heal and deliver someone from what they're going through right now. I hope this testimony bless someone to know that put your trust in God. Call ye upon him while he's near. Call upon him in the time of trouble, because his name is a strong tower, and the righteous run into it and they are saved. God bless you. I hope this testimony blesses someone or opens someone's eyes to what's happening around, the evil things that might happen around. But just know, devil cannot kill what God has already anointed to live. God bless you. I'll catch you in my next one.